Welcome back to the LEC, where I am joined by Vedius and Ender. And why do the Giants have to stand in front of me with the camera and make me look even shorter? We're about to jump into Schalke versus Vitality. And Ender, what can we expect from Vitality? Because I think I can trust Schalke a little bit more to be consistent.
I mean, Vitality are the more up and down team, right? You say inconsistent, but I think we've seen a lot of good things coming from them in the last few weeks. Specifically, Attila and Jactroll have looked much more solid in the bottom lane, largely because I think Mowgli is actually giving them a lot of attention during the lane phase.
Against XL, Misfits, and SK.
And they're looking better, Vedius. They're looking much better.
I'm still not entirely bought into the Vitality hype train until I see them beat either a middle of the pack team or a top tier team, and Schalke is the perfect opportunity for that. Currently 4-4 in our league, kind of gone under the radar with a lot of our discussions, largely because when you look at those 4-4 spots, everyone thinks the Origin immediately takes the spot after Splice, but you kind of have to look at Schalke and say, are they in that conversation?
Well, we'll find out as this weekend plays out, and whenever Upset and Attila go toe-to-toe, it is an emotionally charged matchup, and the first bans are targeted Draven and Ezreal, respectively.
Clearly, we already are having an emotionally charged draft with both of these teams, too. I love that they're taking away some of the comfort options for these two players. I remember one of the last times these two teams faced off, it was Attila's Xayah that really popped off, flying into the enemy backlines and making big plays happen. So seeing what champions these two marksmen get in the bottom lane is going to give us a large tell as to how this game can pay out.
Well, right now, a lot of the strong champions are left up and available. Sejuani, still very strong on this current patch, something that Trick will often default to if it is an option for him. Karma going to be taken off the board. I do believe Yuumi is banned for this weekend, so she's not going to be in the priority list anywhere. And with a lot of these supports taken off the board, like Lux and Karma, it does increase the priority on things like Rakan as well.
Well, let's see what other power picks are available, because the Qiyana is open. Skarner was that final ban, as you mentioned. We saw Neeko banned in the previous game, and just a reminder to fans at home, we are playing a patch 9.13. It is Azir locked in, so Corki or Ekko for Jiizuké?
I would love to see Jiizuké on the Ekko or even the Talon that we saw Caps on earlier. Now, I think you brought up the Sejuani. I would love to see Mowgli grab that, but instead it is going to be the Empress, the Elements. We got Qiyana. What a little sangria.
Okay, so a lot of things are happening right now. The Azir coming out from Schalke is no real surprise, but the fact that it even made it through the draft is because Vitality have a very deep champion pool in the mid lane, so they're more than happy to play against it. We already talked about the power of Rakan, but Vitality expected that to come through, so they prioritized getting themselves the Tahm Kench, which, in all honesty, is one of Jactroll's strongest supports down towards the bot side of the map. So they're going to be playing much more defensively. Wouldn't be surprised to see it paired up with something like a Sivir, maybe. If they wanted to go more defensive route, they could also consider the Varus.
Yeah, the Varus, the Ashe utility AD carry, so we know Attila has been successful on in the past. Now for jungle, they're going to pick up the Gragas in Mowgli's hands and now ban away some of the junglers that Trick has been very comfortable on. So the Olaf comes to mind as the first one they remove. I still have my eyes set on something like the Sejuani as just fitting in as a very solid initiation tool for Schalke to give them some sort of non-committal engage.
I do think that it hurts their early power, though, largely because one of the things that Sejuani does struggle with is the ability to provide a lot of impact unless paired up with something like a melee carry. So things like Yasuo, Camille, we've seen a lot work very well with champions like that, but an Azir, not going to do a huge amount. You're going to have to wait till 6 before you can look to make a bot lane play, and even then it's not the strongest. So I would actually more likely expect something like the Olaf, which is why I think we're seeing the ban come out from the side of Vitality.
I definitely want to dive deeper into this mid lane matchup and what your anticipations will be as we get into game. But
who says Qiyana's mid, Twitch?
See, touche, actually. We need to see what Trick runs as well, and then finalize whether it's Cabo or Jiizuké running. The last two bans was the Varus as well as the Aatrox. So Attila's going to need to look for another option. I mean, Kai'Sa is still open. What other AD carry could you consider?
Jinx is one
Or the
possibility.
Caitlyn, actually.
Caitlyn is another one, yeah.
That's interesting. So here, Caitlyn is usually considered a very strong pick into the Xayah Rakan, but usually paired up with a ranged support that can help push the lane alongside her. Caitlyn outranges that Xayah pretty considerably, and the Tahm Kench should be able to win these fights, you know, with the tongue lashes up against this Rakan. So that is going to be a powerful 2v2 combination in terms of early pushing power and overall safety map mobility with the TK.
I have many mixed feelings about Caitlyn. We'll talk a little bit more about it when we get into the game, but in any case, definitely a strong early laning champion. It looks like Schalke looking for a little bit more AD in their composition. Wouldn't surprise me to have some follow-up engage with something like the Jarvan or the Xin Zhao, and I think it adds a lot of early game pressure, but they're actually going for more of the defensive option with the choice of the Sejuani.
And we've already spoken a lot about it. I know, Vedius, you're not super in love with the duo. Let's find out what Vitality round out their comp with, whether this is Gragas, Qiyana versus Sej, Azir or not. But it's a slightly different look here for the Schalke squad with that Neeko up top. I want to see how they execute on it. And if this Ekko gets locked in, which is what we thought could happen, and that will be Qiyana top into Neeko. Couple seconds left, and it's done.
All right. I really like this here coming from Jiizuké. We've already seen him play this matchup once before, and the Ekko is strong into the Azir for two reasons. One, you can take very strong burst trades against Azir, proccing your passive, and then using that movement speed to get out without taking too much in return. And two, come side lanes, come a 1-3-1 later on in the game, Ekko is going to be able to do considerably more damage in those 1v1 situations. You also have the threat of the Tahm Kench right side it, so the global pressure to support solo lanes come this split push later on is very powerful for Vitality.
Not sure how I feel about the Qiyana top lane though. I'm still thinking about how it fits into the comp and how it will do into the matchup as well. I think it depends on whether it's an AD or AP Neeko. And expectations to me is that it's AP Neeko, which means that Qiyana should do a little bit better against it. But yeah, I've never seen the matchup. I don't really know what to expect. I'm going to be learning a lot this game up towards the top side. But Cabochard clearly feels confident on it. And we do know that he likes to play these carries up towards the top side of the map.
Yeah, I think regardless of build on Neeko's side, there is going to be kill threat, especially come level 6 for this Qiyana. Looking at both these compositions, Schalke have very clear identities in that they want to try to fight with this Xayah, Azir, team fight damage. They also have the tools to start off from very far away, while as Vitality are going back to an older look for Vitality. Very strong solo lane threat with the Tahm Kench on Jactroll to try and split up the map and cut you down.
And welcome back to the last day of the first round robin here in the LEC. Some cheekiness being set up as it looked like IgNar has jumped over the wall.
Yeah, IgNar took the W at level 1, so he's sitting inside here. Vitality, though, very unlikely they actually step forward, and they're pinging out where Trick and Upset are at the moment. So if they're going to make a play, they're going to bring 4 members in and try to catch Jactroll.
Is he going to drop the ward? Nope. Well, they already know that this play is going to happen, so I suppose they don't want to investigate vision just yet. Schalke very aggressively want to force into Vitality's half of the jungle, try and gain some information as to what Mowgli is up to in the first half. Makes me wonder if Schalke will look to try and set up a split map. One of the things about Caitlyn is that she wants to play as aggressively as possible. She wants to be harassing you. She wants to keep the lane perma pushed. And so one of the things that she needs is jungle support, which means that Mowgli has to play towards the bot side of the map. So one of the things that you can do is you can split the map if you're going against it, and you can deny any jungle presence towards the bot side of the map, forcing Attila to play much more defensively and not allowing the Caitlyn to utilize the early strength that she often has.
Yeah, you know, the other option here for Schalke is that they don't even have to actually walk into Vitality's blue buff anymore and go for that counter jungle if they don't want to divide the map. Because they have that vision anyway, they can know at the second Mowgli pass down towards this bottom side, which will actually give Trick a lot more freedom to move around on the top side. And with Abbedagge coming up after that first wave was cleared to put down that ward, it would actually see if Mowgli was going to go for the response. So now Trick goes into the enemy jungle, but there is a red ward on top of that blue buff.
Okay, so a little bit of vision set up from earlier. Trick will get spotted out now. Taking a look, no real moves yet. Jiizuké's under pressure in the mid lane already as Abbedagge's pushed him in and chunking him out, and it looks like an Attila and Jactroll a little bit of trouble as Mowgli's on the other side of the map.
But this is the split map that we talked about. Notice how Abbedagge was able to get the push in mid lane, and Upset and IgNar did not help their jungler push. So that means that Schalke were able to get to the wave at the same time as Attila and Jactroll, and Abbedagge has chunked Jiizuké out that he can't collapse. This has allowed the split map to happen, which means that Attila and Jactroll cannot do what they want to be doing on this Caitlyn Tahm Kench, and it's one of the things that you always have to be careful flip-flop, because if she doesn't have a strong early game, her mid game is relatively weak, which means that this Caitlyn for the first 20 to 25 minutes of gameplay could effectively be useless.
Yeah, and now Mowgli, clever use of the body slam to get over the wall rather, because both entrances into the river were warded. Right now, Trick doesn't know that Mowgli is going for the counter jungle, so Mowgli is actually going to be able to make up a lot of the ground he lost when he gave up his blue buff and the Gromp camp.
So this is an equalizing move, and the reason we're talking so much about Trick and Mowgli is these two junglers are very, very important for their team. Trick has consistently improved week on week here in the LEC, and you can see kills plus assists is performing better. Forward percentage, while not as aggressive as Mowgli, he doesn't get punished as much, and Mowgli's not going to be looking for a move here. Flashes over the root, gets down the barrel. Odoamne not going to be able to stop anything, and first blood to Cabo's Qiyana.
Really nice moves there from Mowgli to come in, dodging through the fog of war, and then set up, gifting the kill on towards Cabochard. We've already seen one Qiyana snowball out of control in the LEC, and Cabochard's off to a good start already.
I think that the play is really smart from Mowgli as well, but now Jiizuké is at risk of being dived.
Okay, flash is available to him. He's going to flash away. That's a chase from Trick, and will reply. I love when we do a lot of prep on the players and then they both show up in different ways.
Yeah, both junglers just come up, get some easy kills here. Now, we actually saw IgNar moved through that bottom river in order to help out Trick in case there was going to be a play coming through from Jiizuké's TP. He will return back to bottom lane, though, and notice that it is still control for that duo.
All right, that's a phase dive into the Time Winder. No stun followed up down in the bottom lane. The 2v2 is going the way of IgNar, and upset. And Jactroll will regen some of that HP.
Now, I wonder if Abbedagge will actually choose to use his Oh, actually, that could be really big. So one of the things about the current wave state means that Abbedagge didn't have to teleport back into the lane. But now that Jiizuké has interrupted that back, he might be forced to TP back into lane, but I'd rather that he didn't, just because then he has a teleport advantage. One of the cool things that you can do when you have so much overwhelming pressure in the early laning phase is force an early teleport out from the opposite laner, and then look for a TP play bot. So now we'll see if Schalke will look to utilize this Azir TP to make a play onto one of the side lanes.
Now both junglers actually coming up towards this top side of the map. Trick willing to give up his position on this ward, but Cabo goes in.
He does indeed. Trick is the first one to respond, but here comes a Mowgli. Predator forward, gets the body slammer, then instantly starts to back away. Odo starts to get the trades. As Jiizuké is looking for that parallel convergence. Both junglers still lingering around in this top lane. Level 5 on Odo, level 5 on Cabo. They're working towards those ultimates, but it's Trick that's pushing Mowgli out.
Yeah, right now Schalke do have to respect Cabochard's damage, though, because he got that first blood. That's a serrated Dirk on his first time back to base. There's also no flash on Odoamne, so it would be very easy for Vitality to sort of turn around there and find the initiation. So right now, Trick is just giving some pressure up towards that top lane to help Odo push out that wave fully and then get it back to an even state.
So, Upset can be forced to use the TP back into the lane. Ends up taking a chunk of damage just as he returns. That's not really what you like as an AD carry, but when we compare AD carries, Schalke's very happy, because typically in a Caitlyn versus Xayah matchup, the CS difference should be going heavily in the favor of the Caitlyn, and there should be a lot of jungle support around that, but all thanks to the early planning and early setup from the side of Schalke, Attila isn't snowballing this lane. Abbedagge has a pretty significant advantage in the mid lane, and the only thing they have to now be worried about is Cabochard's Qiyana.
So one of the things that Jactroll has, though, is the Unsealed Spellbook, and use the TP to get down into the bottom lane. Now mid lane.
Oh, very nicely played by Abbedagge. He's going to use that Emperor's Divide to force out the Chrono Break. Nothing really comes of it other than a trade of ultimates for now. And Jactroll, he's actually flashed for the Tongue Lash. He needs a couple more hits before he can get the Devour. One more and he won't get in range. The Catfish can't catch the ball, but now IgNar trying to look for a follow-up knock-up, and nothing is there to follow. Vitality, they are playing very aggressively, trying to find opportunities, and they're not connecting yet.
Yeah, Mowgli really wants to steal away this camp. They get it to reset, though, and he doesn't have the smite, so Vitality will have to sort of back away here and settle for this Scuttle Crab. Now Jiizuké takes a great trade.
There's a lot of damage there onto Abbedagge. Jiizuké can't chase further. All of his spells were on cooldown. As it stands now, we're just going to reset. It's pretty much even CS for everyone except mid, where Jiizuké is one wave behind. I want to just quickly go back to the Attila point you guys were talking about, because we do have some stats in his wins versus losses. And one of the interesting deciding factors, and one of the differences, obviously, is jungle proximity, which is something you mentioned. And in the wins, it's higher jungle prox. This game, there hasn't been a lot of proximity from Mowgli.
Yeah, there hasn't been a ton. You know, they have grouped up to try and make an invade together, but usually when Mowgli is able to play more around this bottom lane that we've seen more recently in the past weeks for Vitality, it just gives a lot of comfort and the ability for Attila to play more aggressively in lane. Because when we look at this duo, oftentimes a lot of their mistakes came from just over-aggressive trades or taking 2v2s that were losing. So now if you have more attention from Mowgli, it allows you to make those same kind of plays and sort of band-aid up potential weaknesses.
Well, it's interesting because in this matchup with the Caitlyn, Tahm, Kench, you wouldn't have anticipated weaknesses. So Vedius, we're getting close to the 9-10 minute mark, to the Rift Herald point. You know, are Vitality happy with the laning phase as it's going, or do they want to make any changes?
Well, one of the difficulties that Vitality has is that they wanted to leverage some of the lane power that they do have. So again, we talked a lot about it early on, and we're actually getting to see some of it now as Cabochard, ooh, very nearly gets that ultimate off onto Odoamne. If he had, that could have very well been a kill. But once you hit level 6, ooh, we see more action in the mid lane.
Yeah, the Empress Divide is available for Abbedagge. I love seeing a little bit of hesitation on the side of Jiizuké. Abbedagge was able to push Jiizuké under tower instantly. Mowgli and Trick, by the way, have been playing tit for tat this entire game. Steal a buff, get a gank, and now they're in one another's faces consistently for the last 4 minutes.
Yeah, they've been doing a very good job reading each other. You notice the lanes they show up to are always at very pivotal points in the matchup where Jiizuké's flash was just about to come up in the mid lane. That's why Trick was maybe there. But also Vitality, knowing that, thinking they could take an advantageous 2v2 because they have so much burst damage with this Ekko and can also get out of a tough situation. You know, if they go for that 2v2 and it looks like it's going poorly, you always have the chrono breaks trying to escape.
But I do think that one of the things that Vitality relied on moving into like the mid game was the strength overall of their laners. Because the thing about Qiyana is once she gets a little bit of lethality into her kit, she has a lot of kill threat onto a wide array of champions. We already saw last week that Broxah didn't realize how much burst she had and then, whoop, you disappeared. And the same thing is for Ekko. Once he gets a couple levels under his belt, once he gets a little bit of magic resistance, he actually can threaten the Azir a lot more comfortably. And then obviously with the Caitlyn, Tahm, Kench, you have a lot more pressure. So I think Vitality were hoping for a little bit more of a easier early laning phase, and then we're hoping to rely on their strong laners, champions that they picked. But right now the game is very even, so Schalke is a lot more content than I think Vitality.
Oh, so good! The slide and glide and catching Jiizuké with an Emperor's Divide. He cannot do anything. A beautiful kill set up off the back of Abbedagge. Just to quickly round out that point from Cabochard, he was the one that was able to pick up the Duskblade of Jactroll. I did misspeak. He was the one that was caught out, not Jiizuké in the middle.
Yeah, caught in a very tough situation. They had just swapped these two lanes with Cabo coming down towards the mid lane, and all of Schalke just group up. You know, one of the things that they do so well, I feel like, is use their jungler and support together to try and find these plays. Often come, you know, early to mid game, you'll see IgNar roaming, not actually giving that much attention towards Upset. Upset is just left on an island to farm a lot, where the rest of the team, with explosive champions like Sejuani and Rakan, can find these fights.
Okay, pointed question. After Trick and Mowgli pick the fight, that's going to force the flash. Nicely played by Mowgli. Once the Duskblade was completed, Cabo and his Qiyana instantly rotated to mid. I wonder if this is anything specific as we see the play happen again.
I mean, one thing is he doesn't have boots, but that wasn't going to save him given this situation. It was just a very good sliding glide there from Abbedagge to start this play off. And if Cabo was going to survive, he would have had to respect Flash much earlier to get away from that engage.
I was actually surprised that they swapped it all because I looked at Jiizuké and I saw he had no ult, and I thought that he had died mid lane. And I was like, oh, Schalke are doing a great job of punishing the...
That's literally how I play-by-play the fight, by looking at his cooldown timer instead of the champion. Because I'm like, there's no way he gets out without it.
Yep, so yeah, that caught me off guard. But clearly they believe that this is a much better matchup for the Qiyana. They want to try and leverage that. She has completed the Duskblade, as you mentioned, Quickshot, and so they're looking to try and leverage that. The problem right now that they're having is that Mowgli is struggling to gain pressure in the river, which is giving Abbedagge a lot more freedom to play aggressively. And as we just saw that play happen in mid lane, there was no jungler to be seen. So I feel like that right now, even though they're kind of answering each other, Trick is finding a lot more success and is utilizing his pressure much more effectively than Mowgli.
Well, let's see if Jiizuké can get away. This time he's actually under some threat, but I do like the fact that Mowgli is showing up. We've seen some more interesting performances from him earlier in the split, and as it stands, Vitality are playing fairly forward and pulling things off. So we move into this mid game as it's Mowgli and Vitality starting the Herald.
Yeah, and Attila and Jactroll actually came off of a reset right up towards this Rift Herald. They want to pick it up before that 14-minute mark so they can get turret plates. And notice the items too. Attila had just ticked over to that Infinity Edge, so he's very powerful in a fight.
Oh, teleport's coming in here. Schalke do not want to concede the Herald. 1,000 hit points on that target. Pop Blossom is available, but it's only Jactroll that gets secured. The smite goes down, but IgNar's in trouble. Here comes Trick. He's thrown out the ulti. It's going to find a stun. That's Jactroll down. Now Trick and Abbedagge. Another fantastic drift from Abbedagge. He is on fire for Schalke.
Schalke were in a much better position to try and force that fight, as Vitality, especially with this Caitlyn, was not strong enough to answer back. Vitality had to tank up the Rift Herald. They were forced up the river in an unideal position, and Schalke find a successful fight.
Yeah, Cabochard was also just completely zoned right there. You know, on this Qiyana with that such a powerful ultimate, you need to make the most out of that ability, but he was stuck on the bottom side of that fight thinking, maybe I can rotate around, second-guessing himself constantly, and it meant that there was no ability for Vitality to try and turn that around.
Well, 30 seconds left before those turret plates fall. And Abbedagge is trying to put on a performance that would get him to be an extra in the next Fast and Furious because his drifts have been great.
So again, we were talking about positioning, and see how 3 members of Schalke just make their way up through the river while the teleport is coming in from the left-hand side. Schalke just had the stronger 5v5 at this point in the game. Cabochard was not able to get into the fight, and while he does pick up the Rift Herald, the whole game plan here from Vitality was secure Rift Herald, bring the Caitlyn top lane, use the Rift Herald to snowball gold into the Caitlyn, and then try and get an advantage back onto the Kate, but they're unable to do that, and Vitality falls short.
Jiizuké, can he find the target? Yes, he can. Face dive in time. Winder just gets that last auto. Felt like that was getting very, very close, but Jiizuké has the damage. First kill on the board.
Yeah, we'll have to check that one out one more time because coming out of the replay, Jiizuké had already made that play happen. Odoamne has his ult up, has his flash up. Maybe they came up right at the last second there, but Jiizuké is able to use this Ekko. Now we see in the side lane, in a longer lane, to pick up that first kill.
I am so excited to see Vitality competing with Schalke. This is the last day of the first round robin, so everybody will start having their rematches from tomorrow. If Vitality win this game, they're going to be 4 wins, 5 losses, and same as Schalke. We were actually having a discussion in the prep looking up to this week, wondering, is Schalke the 4th best team in the league with Origin having some struggles? Now Vitality are playing a competitive match as Jiizuké. He just fancied himself a kill.
Yeah, I'd like to give a breakdown here, but the TLDR is Odoamne ran out of mana, and he felt that he was going to get dived regardless, so he chooses to try and burn his... See, this is the thing that I question. Like, if you have Flash and Teleport, why not try and flash away from this situation? But I guess he saw something that I didn't, so he did what he could.
I mean, one of the big things there, too, is Jiizuké had just finished the Proto Belt, while Odoamne had spent a lot of his gold on a Seeker's Arm Guard. So that armor is not going to be helping you against these trades versus Jiizuké.
All right, that's a pretty easy catch onto Cabo. He's able to flash over the wall, though. IgNar can't chase him, so good reactions here from Cabo, and it's just at the cost of Trick's ulti.
And the positioning right now means that Schalke can move up into this top side and try to knock down this turret on the next wave, although Mowgli will come up here with Cabochard, and Gragas is one of those junglers that provides great wave clear, but also good engage. That is probably going to stop Schalke from actually stepping forward to hit that tower.
One of the things that also is difficult for them is they can't gain priority in mid lane right now because Schalke was forced to move the Azir down to match Jiizuké, which means that you have this Neeko in the mid lane getting pushed underneath the tower by Attila and Jactroll. So that means the Vitality can move up towards top first and then deny the push from Schalke.
I really like the look of both of these compositions just as a viewer. So the question I have for you two now is 16 minutes on the clock, pretty much even gold. We're getting to 1, maybe 2 item power spikes. So which team and composition are you favoring as we enter this next phase of the game?
I think right now it's very close because both teams have very different ideas of how they want to play out this game. Right now, Schalke are set up to have much stronger team fights, and at this moment, Abbedagge, with his itemization, rushed 30% CDR, so that's going to be very effective for him to try and push back against Jiizuké in the side lane. Because for Vitality, it's all about side lane threat and having kill threat onto your opponents.
And of course, that replay we just showed with Jiizuké using the chrono break to get back to lane while his teleport is on cooldown, keeps that pressure up, keeps them pushing forward. That's why Jiizuké is on this bottom tower, and it is being traded by Schalke up top.
See, for me, one of the things I think Vitality failed to do is ultimately gain an early lead, because I think that there was way more reliance on their laners to get some kind of an advantage, because in my opinion, I think they get outscaled. And it's largely in the mid game where I think Schalke have way more options, because Vitality, even though they want to play towards sides, the problem that they actually have is Cabochard on Qiyana is not the best split pusher, And while Jiizuké is strong, the Caitlyn and Tahm Kench isn't strong enough to actually generate pressure in mid. So this is kind of the best case scenario where they can look to try and force Abbedagge off into a side lane. But I think that once the second items start coming through from Schalke, they can actually just start brute forcing objectives with 5 men, and Vitality will be forced to react.
Yeah, I agree. Now bot lane, play on Jiizuké.
All right, Empress Divide was used earlier, and despite Jiizuké getting caught out, he will Chrono Break to buy some time. Parallel Convergence comes down, he cannot get the shield. So 1-1, they pick up the kill.
Yeah, big play there from Schalke to buy more time for this composition as Abbedagge finishes off his Nashor's Tooth. Upset now 2 items in the bottom lane as well. So this composition is scaling very well into being that team fight monster we sort of talk about at the moment. And the longer you can shut down these side lanes for Vitality, the less of a window you give them to actually fight back against you.
And we saw a quick glimpse there of Upset pushing into Attila. Upset 200 CS to the 167 of Attila. Vedius, you mentioned the early game impact being lacking from Vitality. iEdge and a Shard versus Essence, Reaver, Rapid.
I mean, what are you more
Cannon.
scared of? Like Caitlyn with an Infinity Edge, or a Xayah who's level 11 with both?
I'm gonna give you a throwback because I have been casting for many years. Caitlyn with iEdge in the mid game is in a power trough.
Definitely old school.
And we need to see at least 2 more items before she can climb out of that power trough.
Yep, that's...
Ender may have never heard those words because he's so young.
I've heard that like every single game in Season 3. Just every single game, multiple times.
You used to hear it. Do you remember the Tristana-Caitlyn matchups?
Oh,
where it used to be the same thing? Tristana and Caitlyn are both in power troughs between the 2 and 3.
It was like, it's not even about the champions. It's literally just about the itemization. Crit itemization, you wait for 3 items until you really
it's true.
You have 75% crit chance.
But Xayah's not.
We didn't have that knowledge back in the day. The other one was that Tear of the Goddess while it was stacking.
Ah, yeah, that's another one.
Trinity Force.
By the way, back on screen, Jiizuké continues to play the side lanes. He's got himself the Sheen and working towards the Lich Bane. Nearly 180 CS, but every time he's matched by Abbedagge, and Abbedagge is just clearing the waves out.
So this is a cool opportunity for us to identify some of the differences between teams. Now, a team like Splyce would actually sacrifice the bot lane right now to actually force a group as 4 men in the mid lane, and then they would converge on each other to try and create that team fight that they're looking for with this comp, right? Whereas what Schalke is doing is they want to try and make sure that farm is still going onto all their side lanes, and instead they're moving Trick to either side to help support their laners who are not as strong in the 1v1. In particular towards Abbedagge, because the risk of Jiizuké all-laning him is there. So then they bring him down, and then they're going to create this 4-man to threaten the mid tower.
Exactly, and why Schalke have the freedom to run around is because right now Upset always is getting mid lane prio. You know, with those feathers and the Essence Reaver now, it's so easy for him to clear away the waves, and Vitality don't have that much engage if they were to bring multiple members mid to threaten him away from the wave. If IgNar is sitting next to him, that's all Schalke need at the moment to get that push going, and what it does is it stalls Vitality, because Jiizuké can't go past the halfway point in top lane.
There's also a tower there.
Yeah, I know, he can't do the same thing in bottom lane. It really shuts down the ability for Vitality to do anything proactive until they can recover control over mid.
So this is why we talked a lot about how the early game was super important for Vitality, and given that Schalke effectively shut them down from finding any early game advantages, Vitality is now kind of relying on scaling. You're now waiting for a point where Jiizuké is at like 3 or 4 items where he is impossible to deal with on a side lane. A level 16 Ekko with a Lich Bane just melts towers. And so Schalke is forced into a much more uncomfortable situation. And as you said, Caitlyn, with more crit itemization, will definitely be a lot more stronger and more valuable as the game goes on.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things about how Vitality's composition works right now is we said they can't really make proactive plays, but they can also stop Schalke from doing stuff themselves, because you think about it, if Schalke try to go into a side lane, both Ekko and Qiyana can stall a lot of time for Tahm Kench to come with the Abyssal Voyage and help them out. So it makes it very difficult unless Schalke sent a lot of members to try and deal with one person to actually make a play happen, which we might see because right now IgNar is roaming down.
Okay, let's see. The last time this happened, Jiizuké did die. This time around, Jiizuké's got Chrono Break and Flash available to him. The Parallel Convergence will give him a small shield, but not enough of a stun just yet. Will buy some time. That's good damage onto IgNar. Where's the Ghost? Chrono Break damage won't connect. Phase Dive goes out, and Jiizuké flashes away, buying some additional time. That Phase Dive is a very low cooldown, and the shield from the Convergence will help ever so slightly. Not going to be able to escape Abbedagge, who is just driving himself to victory. 3-0-2 on that Azir.
It's a really good play there from Schalke to get that kill, but but also notice that Odoamne did not greed in the top lane. He gave up that tower and backed away. Now, though...
Oh, supreme display of talent for Cabo after securing the tower, but it will not be enough to pick up the kill as Odo flashes to safety.
Yeah, he had to use the flash there, but he doesn't lose his life because there was a very real possibility that had he stayed to try and wave clear under the tower, there's a Gragas, there's Tahm, there's Caitlyn, they're all coming to kill you.
So one of the problems that Schalke also found was that it took ages to kill Jiizuké, and it's only going to get harder as the game progresses, right? Because his shield gets redonkulous when he puts more points into it.
That's the scientific term?
That is, in fact, the official League of Legends term. At level like 17, and he's got 4 points in his W, redonkulous is what his W becomes. So, but it bought so much time that, as you said, it allowed Vitality to actually gain an objective elsewhere on the map, when initially they weren't in a position to do so. Jiizuké was overextended for all intents and purposes, and Schalke should have gotten a free kill. So this just goes to show that the longer the game goes on, the harder it could be for Schalke, but right now they maintain control over the map.
And this is the replay of the long kill. But look at the mini-map, though. That's
Yes.
the important thing for me. Taking eyes on as Cabo is going to shove that wave into the tower.
Yeah, I also think it's really clever how IgNar plays this one because Jiizuké tries to kill him and uses his first E to dodge away from the initial jump in from Jiizuké, then uses his second one to get away from a potential time winder there that would have been able to knock him out with a passive. He plays on the edges of this engage at all times so that Jiizuké is tempted to try and turn around but never is given the opportunity to do it.
But notice how in this play, Caitlyn is able to base and reset back onto the map without losing anything. So props to Jiizuké for buying enough time. Let's see what Abbedagge can do.
Okay, he's still got his flash available. Abbedagge's put so much damage into Cabochard. The Emperor's Divide was fantastic. And now Jactroll, he's taking an Abyssal Voyage to potentially his death. Pop Blossom finds no target as Vitality. They whiff the kill onto Abbedagge. The response is swift and nobody goes down.
Abbedagge puts down the Sun Disc, and that's ultimately what stops that entire play from happening. Jiizuké, though,
Not
once more.
done yet. The Time Winder comes out. One more shot. That's the kill onto Odo. He's going to try and run away. Chrono Break gets the HP, but now Jiizuke's in trouble. The Sun Disc plus Upset secure the kill, but look, another tower is being poked.
I mean, it's a one-for-one trade, but Vitality trade up in this situation. Not only do they get the first kill there onto Odoamne, but also that coveted mid-lane tower to try and give them more control in this area of the map.
I feel like that Schalke are actually playing more and more into Vitality as the game is progressing, because Abbedagge is honestly where a lot of the gold is right now. And while he is having a great game, Schalke need to better utilize him, because the fact that he's constantly in a side lane means it's a lot harder for Schalke to threaten things like that mid-tier 1 and start gaining deeper vision. So the longer that Abbedagge is kept in a 1v1 against Jiizuké, the better and happier Vitality is feeling, because they can just keep slowing the game out.
Yeah, the good news, though, for Schalke is that we're 25 minutes into the game now. They don't actually need to focus on killing side laners as much as they can just group up around an objective. I think we're waiting on Upset to finish that Infinity Edge, maybe a Rabadon's Death Cop on Abbedagge as well, and then there's almost no way I think Vitality can stack up against them in an even 5 versus 5 team fight. That's when Schalke can just move up towards the Baron and try to lure Vitality into them.
The thing is, when I think about Vitality and I think about the memorable games and the ones that they end up winning, it's not really the 5v5s that come to mind. It is the split push style of Cabo and Jiizuké unleashed. And despite Cabo being completely outplayed here, and Abbedagge buying so much time, it was Jiizuké and Vitality that ended up picking up the counter kill and then eventually the tower.
So what Vitality used their reset for is to actually just attack bot lane. They send everyone to try and kill Abbedagge in the event that Schalke tried to help them. And the thing is, I don't know if Jiizuké trading his life for Odoamne here is worth it. If it was Abbedagge, I would have said, okay, that's actually pretty good. You get a shutdown. You also buy more time where you get to kill the Azir, which is great. But the fact that he has to waste his life to secure a kill into Odoamne, who right now isn't that important in the game,
but
I think ultimately hurts.
Doesn't it also unlock the tower as well? Mid did fall immediately after.
I mean, that's true. Trick using the ultimate there goes wide on towards Attila, though. That's a big engage tool down now on the side of Schalke, but they're still grouped up with 3 members. They're going to try to move Vitality out of the river.
All right, Xayah Rakan combo looking for targets. Cabochard realizing he's making his way down from that top lane. While that's going on, Jiizuké and Abbedagge are going for, what, round 7 or 8 or 9 in the bottom lane. Ender, you said you wanted to see the Infinity Edge for Upset. He has it completed, and Abbedagge must be close for the death.
But look, Jiizuké's level 16 now. Abbedagge's still on the side lane against him, and I think the biggest problem for Schalke is they're not willing to make a sacrifice to the side, but they finally find a fight mid.
All right, there's the engage. Devoured by some time. Grey Health has been popped, and so has Jactroll. Upset obliterates him. Jiizuké unable to kill Abbedagge, and now he's left the bottom lane.
This is exactly what we needed to see from Schalke. Now they can look to brute force their way onto this mid-tier 1. It was a really good trade in bot lane as well in favor of Abbedagge. He can push out bot and look to group up with this team.
Okay, Qiyana's making his way down, but I don't think you can really come in from behind in that way. So forced out. The third tower secured for Schalke in the mid lane. It is still a very even game at 1,000 gold advantage to Schalke.
But we need to be seeing more of this from Schalke because, again, like we're going to keep reiterating it. The more that they play to the side lanes of Vitality, the better Vitality will be in as the game progresses, because Jiizuké looks like that he could be working towards either a Spellbinder or a Death Cap. Once that's completed, this Ekko is scary.
Yeah, he definitely is going to be. Now, Mowgli had to use his E to get away from the Sejuani, which left him so vulnerable here. So Jactroll takes the trade. He's going to sacrifice his own life to keep Mowgli up. So there is the threat on towards the Baron. But coming out of this replay, I want to look at where Schalke came. They pushed out that bottom lane entirely, and now they have 4 members grouped up in mid. This is a power play. That was like straight trolling trick.
What was that?
But besides that ultimate, that was also part of the power play. Let's go with that. They get a full push in mid lane. They get deep vision down inside the Vitality jungle, and they can now set up around this Baron. They also had the push and this full flank onto Jiizuké.
Okay, Jiizuke's running for his life. Chrono Break's not available to him, but he does have the flash. There's a redonkulous shield, quote Vedius. He's in trouble. That's going to be flash. Deny some vision. Phase dive, not going to get out of range. Here comes Mowgli, though. Not going to throw the ultimate down, and Attila can't get in range. It's Jiizuké picked off by Schalke.
And now Jiizuké down for another 45 seconds. This is Schalke's turn to start up this Baron. They still have 3 key ultimates. Cabochard does have the teleport if he wants to enter the fight, but Vitality are hopelessly outmatched.
Okay, Mowgli's got the ulti and the smite available, and the flash. Jactroll's being chunked down. Here comes Odo. The Pop Blossom was game-changing as Vitality had to peel away. Baron will be secured by Schalke, and Jactroll stays alive for now. Attila, out of his power drop, picks himself up a kill. Not gonna get the second because the Hourglass did deny the stopwatch, but that was very nicely done. Abbedagge comes in, but Attila's not done. He gets himself a second, turns his attention to Upset, who picks himself up a kill.
Cabochard just came into that fight. He got a shutdown on towards Upset. I'm looking on it from a different monitor right now because Cabochard is still on the hunt for Trick.
He is indeed trying to chase him down. The observers tried something tricky, but it didn't work out.
Right now, Jiizuké, he's TPing down into the bottom lane. He has the Lich Bane, so he's doing so much damage to this tower. Right now, it's only Trick and IgNar alive. They can trade for this objective.
Okay, but here comes Mowgli as well. Trick and IgNar trying to defend. Jiizuké's going to get the support in a moment. He takes a lot of damage from Trick. He's taken down. The CC was massive. And while the inhibitor stands, Vitality have opened the base.
All right, this game has turned into a bit of a fiesta. Both teams need to calm down because that series of events was ridiculous. It all started with Trick deciding to throw his ultimate mid lane. No reason at all. At the moment that happened, you knew that some serious stuff
That was a confidence play, baby.
It was bad. That's what it was. So, when we get the replay up, what we're going to be tracking is the initially good decision-making coming out from Schalke and how they set up the bot lane play as Endo was talking about, or the bot lane wave, so that they could easily group up as 5 around the Baron and actually start to threaten it, which is what they've wanted to do pretty much for the whole game. Right? So they're able to set that one up properly, and then the execution around the Baron could have been a little bit better because they greeded a little bit for Attila, who, again, was quite strong at that point and was able to find a couple of picks. And then this is where the TPs from Vitality actually came in handy because they were saved for so long.
Yeah, so right now, Abbedagge has this big wave built up in bottom lane. Trick still with the Baron buff, so they can get this shirt pretty freely. Abbedagge wanting more damage onto Jiizuké. They're going to go for it.
All right, Jiizuké stays alive just long enough to chrono back to the wave. That will buy some time, but Baron empowered minions still shoving forward. 13 kills and a 50-second death timer. There's no teleport for Cabo available.
Yeah, Vitality are just going to have to give this one up, but Cabochard needs to base because it's 5v3 inside the Vitality base, and they're going to go for the Nexus.
Schalke are going to pour onto the Nexus turrets. Baron's still up for another minute. They've got 3 cannon minions hammering away. The Nexus turret has fallen 30 seconds before Jiizuké is up. Here comes Cabo. He needs to find a target. Get some damage onto IgNar, and this will send Schalke sideways for now. Trick unable to find a target, and there's the Pop Blossom for Odo. He manages to kill a minion, and now Schalke are running away. Vitality successfully defend.
Yeah, Schalke going to be able to get away here, though, so Vitality can't trade back for any kills themselves. Still, this puts you in almost a hopeless position if you are Vitality, because now that you've lost your inhibitor, it becomes so hard. You can no longer go into side lanes and try to split up this map. You're going to have to draw the line in the sand somewhere, decide what objective you try to fight over, because otherwise Schalke just going to waltz straight into your base and knock down everything.
So the observers are showcasing back where the original play started. That was where the mid play was happening, and the reality is Jiizuké was overextended up towards the top side, allowing Schalke to find this initial pick. This is where they found the numbers advantage to force this Baron. And then we move over towards the Baron kicks off, and I actually want you to keep your eyes on Attila in this fight and notice how he's just chipping away at the members of Schalke. He chunks out Odoamne initially. You're going to get a really good barrel coming in from Mowgli just now, which again knocks them into Attila. And Schalke could have just disengaged. They could have just backed off from this fight and been happy with the Baron, but they greed. They hungry for kills. And then Abbedagge ends up dying to Attila. So the execution was a kind of all over the shop from both teams, and it felt like that what should have been a very clean and easy Baron for Schalke ended up in almost an advantageous situation for Vitality.
And so much credit to Attila on this Caitlyn. While we didn't see a lot of him up until that point, he hit every single 90 caliber net correctly, dodged all of the skill shots, and just kept peppering away auto after auto. He's got himself the Mercurial Scimitar to combine the Shiv, Rapid Fire Cannon, IE, and another BF Sword. Was coming up against Upset's Phantom Dancer, and Schalke are pushing to the top in here.
Yeah, the QSS is going to be so important for him because he's lacking his flash. No flash on Mowgli either, so initiating some sort of last-ditch stand for Vitality is going to be very, very difficult. But look at this right now. Schalke are waiting for all three minion waves to sync up at the same time and try to go for the siege or just go in.
If I look at the minimap, that's two or three super minions in the bottom lane. Schalke, if they play for time, two of them, thank you observers, pushing into the base. And remember, there's one Nexus turret down already. Schalke have just been 1 or 2 steps ahead of Vitality this entire game. And it just feels like that's how they're going to look to close it out. They're going to secure another Mountain Drake. Baron is up in a minute, so they can just wait for that and use that to force it out.
And it's very clear how Schalke, decided they were going to win this game. It was to put a target on Jiizuké and continue to attack him over and over in side lanes. Because if he's playing aggressively, the Chrono Break can't actually save you. You know, if he goes for long trades and you find a full flank around him, the safety that you think you have on that type of champion just is not going to be here. Now Jiizuké is sitting with 7 deaths. He's no longer a viable split push option for them because Schalke can just group up his 5 members and walk in and find these fights. And what you'll see them do is try to clear out all the vision inside the Vitality jungle, because the easiest thing for them is just find one pick with a Sejuani ult and then the game just ends.
In my opinion, I actually think the game started earlier than that, where Schalke's whole game plan was about shutting down this Caitlyn and Tahm Kench. And the fact that that got mitigated so heavily due to a single decision to split the map just showcased the core weakness of what this Caitlyn champion, what can happen if she doesn't find those early leads. And I felt like it's given Schalke so much freedom to then later on deal with Jiizuké, who's been constantly threatening on a side lane. Now, while I do think the Schalke could have pushed at opportunities, right now they're in a great position to look for the next Baron.
I think this Baron is a great idea for Schalke. Obviously, you can go start this one up. There is a teleport on Cabochard coming up just now. He's going to go back to base. Maybe he can TP in. They have great flank wards if they can try to find the fight, but IgNar's on the flank.
It's too late. There's not enough time. Schalke are too far ahead. Trick and Abbedagge obliterate Baron at 35 minutes. Cabo does manage to recall, and now it's the last defense. IgNar and Mowgli, don't know if they know one another, standing in the respective bushes, but this is such a tough defense. Super minions are inside the base of Vitality. There is Baron empowered minions now on the Schalke side, and they're going to start the siege in multiple lanes.
Yeah, what Schalke are going to try to do is rotate between the lanes to avoid the Caitlyn traps. Right now, all 5 are put in this mid lane from Attila. They're not actually going to be relevant, though, because he's standing so far back here. Tries to get one auto in, but they use the clone to try and take it up, and now they're going to get 2 towers in 2 lanes.
Okay, so there's the tower falling top. Trick and Abbedagge making their way into the base. The inhibitor will fall. Cabo's looking for a target. Can't hit anything onto IgNar, and IgNar just easily dashes away with the flash as well. Now Cabo forced back inside his base. The mid tower does still stand. Mowgli's gone in, thrown down the barrel, goes golden, but where's the support? Where's the rest of Vitality? Nobody was with him. Abbedagge jumps into Cabo. He buys some time with the Hourglass. Jactroll is gonna fall. Abbedagge finally gets killed by Jiizuké. He is going to run for his life as Cabo is sacrificed. A gigantic crit onto IgNar, and the body block from the ace in the hole means Upset with the GA will be pushing the in-hit.
Yeah, Attila might actually be strong enough to try and clear away these waves and stop Schalke from ending the game right here and now. The inhibitor in the bottom lane does end up respawning for Vitality, but their base has been shattered.
And of course, with the exception of Trick, there's some pretty low HP targets. So Caitlyn at this stage, 2 crits, 3 crits is obliterating people. Now Upset, he recalled, he healed, he teleported, he takes another inhibitor, and Schalke continue the pressure.
I think Schalke have more than enough pressure right now to actually look to end the game. Odoamne doesn't have a huge amount of mana left, but his ultimate, I believe, is just about to come up, and they're ready to end it.
Okay, Attila's come back with the GA. Upset is going to escape with the feathers. The tower on the Nexus does fall. Only the Nexus remains. Baron empowered cannon minions now doing some work as Mowgli's a little bit low and Jiizuké's trying to find a target.
Schalke might just be waiting for Abbedagge to TP back in. That's going to be the call from him. Upset walked down to the Wolf camp to try and get some HP back. They want to end it right here now, but there's TP flank.
See what happens with it, because Schalke right now, they are somewhat split, but so are Vitality. And the last time Mowgli engaged, nobody was there to back him up. That can't happen again, and there's no ultimate here for Mowgli. Cabochard, what are you doing, man? Going on a little safari at this time's not the right call. Odo and the rest of Schalke, they're inside the base. There's the engage from IgNar. There's a fight on 2 fronts, but Jiizuké's already down. Another one falls from Mowgli. Jactroll's running for his life, and despite all the efforts of Attila, there's simply not enough frontline. The Nexus falls, and Schalke are not going to do it just yet. They'll get a few more kills, and Schalke beat Vitality.
Took them a while to close that one out, but Schalke were finally able to secure the victory and move to 5-4 in the first half of the split. Looking very solid. I really liked what Trick did in the early game. The split map was the best option going up against the Caitlyn. It felt like it was the easiest way to mitigate some of Vitality's early strengths, and I felt like the overall execution was very strong from Schalke.
I did like seeing Vitality's performance this game. I actually expected less of them. They have been a bit of an up and down team over the last few weeks, and they were competitive. Just a quick update, since Schalke won the game, in a few minutes' time, Upset will be joining Sjokz and Froskurinn at the Analyst desk, so stick around to hear his insight. His Xayah game, 9-1-1. Somebody call the ambulance.
He's gonna get player of the game because it's KDA, and he definitely shouldn't.
I have a better vote for you guys, and it's IgNar. 1-0-14 on the Rakan, highest kill participation on the team, and he was so instrumental. When Trick's ultimates were going a little bit wide or just not even close, it was IgNar finding the mark and getting all the kills that snowballed into 2 Barons for this team.
I've got another legacy call.
Hit me.
Whenever those ultimates are thrown out and they're somewhat wasted, it's about sending a message.
Yeah.
Schalke won the game without Trick's ultimates in the game.
He sent a message. His Sejuani ults suck.
I do want to give a shout out to Abbedagge as well. If anything, he probably deserves player of the game overall because of how well he actually played his Azir. I was very impressed with not only how he played the lane, but how he worked with Trick in order to generate a lot of pressure in the early game. I think that he set up a lot in the side lane, and he worked well with IgNar to find a lot of these praises. And like, it's very much as you said, Ender. Both Abbedagge and IgNar worked very well together to generate a lot of the kills and a lot of the plays that happened in the mid game. So props to the two.
Well, the two teams end the first round robin. Schalke go 5-4. Vitality go 3-6. Now, I think if you take the last 2 weeks for Vitality, they're trending upwards. They're still not that strong or consistent. But the question we have to ask ourselves is, where does Schalke fit into the power rankings? Are they stronger than Origin? That's a question we have to evaluate. Origin and Schalke started today 4 wins and 4 losses. And it's one of the things we're going to start to figure out as we get nearer to playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, both these teams right now are borderline playoffs in terms of ranking at the moment, in terms of overall record throughout the split. And I think Origin, you give them the benefit of the doubt after their spring split performance. Schalke, they brought in Trick in this season, and so far it's looked much better for them. I think his calls have made them a lot more calm overall as a team. In a game like this, where you say, we obviously outscale in terms of the 5v5, we don't have to go for any super risky plays, just play off of pressure, play off of numbers. That's exactly what they were able to do in order to get this win.
Definitely the case. I thought you were going to pick it up.
Oh, sorry.
Just another reminder, of course, that Upset will be joining Sjokz on the Analyst desk in just a moment, and I can see Laure is busy getting set up with Odo for an interview. Just before we go to that, though, quick Kia player of the game. Nominees include Abbedagge, Upset and IgNar.
Oh, no.
Head to @LOL Esports and vote. This is a
Don't
really
look at the
difficult one.
KDAs. Don't look
And
at the KDAs.
all 3 players are acceptable, viable options. I give you my blessing to pick.
Don't
who
listen
you
to the
feel.
old man.
One person who was not worthy of Kia Player of the Game is about to get interviewed.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys, and thank you, Odo, for joining me. You were actually saying that you were useless this game, so I want to know who should get Player of the Game?
From my team?
Yeah.
Definitely not Rick. I mean, he really didn't hit any ult, but it's fine. Did he? I mean...
Maybe one, maybe one.
Okay.
Anyway.
I mean, I think Abbe did a pretty good job. He was faced with the difficult task of handling Jiizuké Ekko, and I think he did pretty good. So yeah, I mean, I think I just kind of had a supportive role because that's kind of how the draft went, and I think that's kind of what you do on blue side because you have to blind pick, so you're kind of stuck with a pretty bad matchup. But I think, I don't know, everyone did a pretty good job, so I think Upset and Abbe is a close one who should get it.
Okay, we'll see about that in a few minutes now. I want to have your opinion on the matchup you just had. You played against Qiyana on the top lane. It's interesting because we're starting to see this champion being flexed. So what do you think about the champion on the top lane for the laning, the side laning afterwards? How good is it?
I don't think it's that great. I think it's really, really strong early game. And transitions into mid-game kind of okay, but I think it falls off pretty bad. The only problem is if you kind of like map split like we did this game, where we just trade sides of the map, it's kind of difficult to survive, because the gank setup is pretty good with, you know, she has a really long range targeted dash, so you should die pretty easy. So, I don't know, I think for Vitality style, for what they want to do and how they like to play around top lane and all that stuff, I think it's a pretty good pick, but I think it's mostly a mid laner. I think it's a fine flex pick, but I think it has a better spot in the mid lane.
Well, we'll see if some teams can flex it somewhere else. I'm talking about these guys behind you. We'll see that in a few minutes now. You remember a few weeks back, I'm sorry.
A few
weeks back, you told me Trick was the monkey trainer and the rest of the team were monkeys. So how's the monkey training going?
Oh, I mean, it's going great. I mean, every day in the office is an adventure, you know, with 4 monkeys and Trick. But, I mean, I think it got better. I think we kind of got rid of our bad habits and you could say we're playing more with how the monkey trainer wants to play. So I think he's a certified monkey trainer, I think.
All right, well, certified monkey trainer it is. We're halfway through the splits now. You're still a middle of the pack team, but I mean the top 3 is really stacked right now. But what do you need to match the top 3 teams at the moment in the
standings? Next week?
Yeah. You'll do it?
Of course.
Of course. Well, we'll see about that next week. Thank you very much.
They're really sweating for it, I think.
Thank you, Odo, for joining me.
Thank
we
you.
still have so many things to say about this game, so back to you, Sjokz.
Thank you very much, Laure. Always a pleasure to hear from Odo. He always makes it interesting, and someone else who made it interesting in that game is Upset. Congratulations, Upset, also to you. A very interesting and dicey game at the end, but I want to go back to the beginning and the picks and bans, because I know Froskurinn had one or a lot of questions.
I had mostly about Vitality's draft. I found it quite clear what you guys... I feel like you guys were trying to get Xayah Rakan from the very beginning, especially with the Lux ban.
Yeah.
Is that because you knew that Vitality just wouldn't grab it, that they would prioritize the Tahm Kench for Jactroll?
I mean, I can't go too much into it, but if somebody will
Blink twice.
blind pick Xayah Rakan versus us, I think they won't be too happy playing against us now, because we developed some counter pick strategy, obviously.
So the double trap.
So yeah, I mean, either they pick it, but
Or
we
you
also
get
find
it.
blind picking it. So yeah, we were just happy picking it up. Like, we have a pretty normal blue side draft, I think, like with the Azir blind pick and a solid top laner like Neeko and Xayah Rakan, yeah.
Were you guys surprised that when you set out that you got this draft? Because it's very strong in a lot of pushing lanes, and it allows Trick to do so much for you guys.
I mean, we were not really surprised, because right now in the game, there are just a lot of power picks, I think, still. And usually, if a team chooses red side, like they had side selection, they want to like counter the meta stuff. And they tried to do it, but it didn't work out that well for them, because they misexecuted a lot, I guess.
That was also interesting, because they are 1 and 5 on red side. So for me, it was definitely a surprise. They must have thought that with the Qiyana, maybe they could throw a curveball at Schalke.
Yeah, we were trying to theorize backstage. I'd love to get your opinion on this, because they picked red side, and we were very surprised about that, because I feel like blue side, especially with the Azir being so strong, is like safer. But do you like the Gragas pick. As soon as I saw Gragas come in, I expected that to be Ashe right there, because I was like, second rotation, they'll ban Ashe, Varus now, so they can't have this strong Tahm Kench matchup, so they're going to lose push priority bottom. Do you think the Gragas was solely because of the Qiyana, and then that just telescripted that it was going to be Mowgli ganking top lane with like the magic damage from Gragas and the physical damage from Qiyana?
I think Qiyana was probably a flex pick, so they like wanted to see where they put it. If like top is playable matchup, they can put it top. So they pick like Gragas, Qiyana, so you have mixed damage combination for one solo lane at least, and it's probably like decent combo for burst. But yeah, it didn't end up working so well. But they also have like Tahm Kench, for example, so some engage from jungle is useful. But yeah, I was surprised when they picked Gragas there, because even Sylas was open, which most teams like first rotate no matter what, because it's kind of broken, and Mowgli actually has a lot of games on it. So I thought their draft was like quite weird, and if they don't snowball or Ekko doesn't get like super far ahead on our Azir, we will probably have like a easy scaling game for us.
Yeah, exactly. There's two things there. Obviously, you don't want them to snowball, so let's take a look at the early game and some of the replays, because they did throw the first punch, so to say. How do you think overall you guys did in that early game?
I think, I mean, we kind of like map split, I guess, but our top laner still didn't get the memo maybe and had to die to the level 3 gank. But our mid jungle actually made it up, which was like really huge for the game, because when Azir is in the driver's seat versus the Ekko matchup, Azir is like a more useful champion in general, and when he starts winning side versus Ekko too, it gets like way better for us, because Azir offers so much more than Ekko than just like diving the backline, because Azir has like super fast Baron, is super safe on side, has like can get Prior really easy, has super long range. So if you don't manage to get your counter off, then yeah, probably Azir will carry.
What is it like when the game is so focused around kind of like top or mid, in this particular instance around the Azir from your position? Is like the team funneling information? Do you feel that you from the marksman position have like a clear understanding of what's happening?
Yeah.
Or at that point, do you just kind of slot back in and do what your team tells you?
No, I mean, I know what's happening for sure, and I was actually quite far ahead this game, so I was also giving a lot of information or like making a lot of calls how we can use the Prior that I gain. And yeah, my Rakan was like roaming a bit too much for my liking this game, so we couldn't like trade a lot, even though I think our matchup is not bad. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of the story of the game, like which mid lane matchup gets ahead, and that's why our support jungle were playing so much around mid, and I was just chilling bot, like farming creeps.
What was tricky about the defenses that Vitality put up in the end? Obviously, we know Caitlyn and Ekko are going to scale quite a bit. Did you ever get a fear of, okay, you know, they're scaling too much, they might just decimate us when we try and attack the base? Or did you have confidence that you would be able to finish?
The only worry this game was like them pushing out on a side lane and us like don't realizing that they can maybe TP in our base, and they have like tempo on a push and we can't end first. So. But since we knew that they have to do this, we were like just going on the lane where the Ekko was and push them out fully. And then we didn't feel like they could outscale us at all in teamfights, because I think our champs are much easier to execute in teamfights and are much better. So yeah, but we weren't really too worried later on, I think. Like we felt we outscaled.
Okay, so it looked scarier, I think, from our perspective than maybe it did from you guys. Player of the game, you were nominated, but your mid laner snagged it away. Kia player of the game, Abbedagge with 46% of the vote. How do you think he's been doing overall?
I think he's been doing a lot better than especially the end of last spring split. I feel like he is a lot more consistent, which really helps us. He has expanded his champion pool, and him and Trick are playing much smarter, I would say, and much more controlled, which gives the whole team more stability. So yeah, I'm quite happy with Abbe's development so far.
Yeah. Are you mad that you didn't get this one, though?
Nah, I'm not mad, just disappointed.
On that note, XL, they got their first win last week, and tonight the UK underdogs look for another upset. And we're also saying goodbye to Upset. Thank you for joining us against G2.
Thank you.
We will be right back.
Excellent work.
Mowgli's not going to be looking for a move here. Flashes over the root, gets down the barrel. Odoamne not going to be able to stop anything. And first blood to Cabo's Qiyana.
Use flash, right?
Yeah, Gragas flashed.
Baron will be secured by Schalke, and Jactroll stays alive for now. Attila out of his power drop, picks himself up a kill. Not gonna get the second because the hourglass did deny the stopwatch, but that was very nicely done. Abbedagge comes in, but Attila's not done. He gets himself a second, turns his attention to Upset, who picks himself up a kill. Odo and the rest of Schalke, they're inside the base. There's the engage from IgNar. There's a fight on two fronts, but Jiizuké's already down. Another one falls from Mowgli. Jactroll's running for his life, and despite all the efforts of Attila, there's simply not enough frontline. The Nexus falls, and Schalke are not going to do it just yet. They'll get a few more kills, and Schalke beat Vitality.
Nah, key. Lie. My brothers don't die, we just rusty bark. I tell your girl to link me at the coffee shop. Getting freaky in the sheets, we're taking body shots. Then I finish with a facial just to top it off. Ay, my brothers don't die, we just rusty bark. I tell your girl to link me at the coffee shop. Getting freaky in the sheets, we're taking body shots. Then I finish with a facial just to top it off. Ay, you ain't got a clue, let's be honest. I had a couple seasons made a forest. I put in the work and take the profit. Looking at my girl like what a goddess. Thank God. Rule number 2, don't make the promise. If you can't keep the deal, then just be honest. I can never die, I'm Chuck Norris. The government of Boris, yeah. I'm a villain, killing when I'm barring. Brothers in the hood, just like the movie that I'm starring. Servicing my whip, I phone the boss to bring my car in. I could probably take a chick, but I just wouldn't cause she's jarring. Ooh, I got the sauce. Don't know what you for. Catch me up and slowing in my sliders and my shorts. Chick's trying to get my brother flips to share his thoughts. I think he's trying to tell me I should tell her he don't talk. I don't with her. Yeah, I used to hit it, but you're stuck with her. Man, I wouldn't even try my luck with her. Yeah, let's say I'm bougie. Way too exclusive. Chilling in Dubai, know I get it all inclusive. Now may I ask if you can find it in your spirit? To leave us all alone and go and mind your business. Looking in the mirror saying my key or the illest. When I'm James Bond trying to live my movie like I'm Idris. So we telling them, look, my brothers don't die, we just rusty bop. I tell you I got to link me at the coffee shop. Getting freaky in the sheets, we're taking body shots. Then I finish